All right, welcome to another episode of Warrior versus Zombie. And as always, I have an amazing warrior guest to share with you today, Jessica Koch. But I'm going to first remind you why you're here. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point, and they provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those in our world. And in each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life: entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, literally any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause, they have unique value, and a vision that goes generations into the future. And today's warrior guest is no exception. Jessica Koch is an amazing warrior. She has been a national sales professional for more than 25 years, working with Fortune 1000 clients like Disney, Verizon, National Power Utilities, hospitals, government, and universities. Throughout her journey, she has successfully trained and managed multiple sales teams nationally, and they have consistently been ranked as top sales producers. She speaks nationally, has been featured on many podcasts, video interviews like this one, and soon to be featured in a published book series titled Profiles in Success: Inspiration from Executive Leaders in the Washington, D.C. area. That gives me a hint as to where you are. As a daughter of a retired Navy service member, she has lived all over the world, including Germany, France, Bavaria, Prague, and today she lives in Solomon's Island, Maryland. She and her husband have raised their 7 kids, which blows me away, in that area, and they are proud to be parents of an active duty member of the U.S. Army. Jessica's vision is guiding business owners and sales professionals to optimize their sales and marketing, utilizing online platforms and proven techniques, enabling a dramatic increase in bottom line results, as well as time for community and family life, which I can only imagine is a critical part of your equation with 7 kids. So, Jessica, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie. How's things in Maryland today?
Things are good. We're getting a little bit of rain, but we have a beautiful weekend coming with Father's Day. You can imagine with 7 kids, Father's Day is a big deal around here. We've rented a canoe to canoe on the Shenandoah River to celebrate Father's Day with my husband. So that should be enjoyable. So
that sounds fascinating. Yeah, with 5 kids, I have the same time. I always say Mother's Day though is more important than Father's Day. But that being said, I think all my 5 kids are going to be here, and they were actually we were talking about a trip or getting out on the water on one of the bodies of water around here, and I just opted for, hey, if everybody's here and we can hang out and whatever, because here in Dallas, I mean, it's not raining, but I think it's supposed to be 100 today. And here it's not like Phoenix or where the desert. It's also, there's a little bit of humidity too, so that usually that means the quote heat index is about 110. So so being outside is a mixed blessing. You definitely want to be in water if you're going to be outside.
On Saturday we're actually going to a family pool party. The whole family is going to a party friends are having, so we'll be swimming on Saturday, but on Sunday we'll actually be on the canoe. And it's much of the river, the way it's designed, is shaded because there's trees all on the bank of the river line. So a lot of it's shaded. And then also right now our temperature is mid to high 70s, low 80s at best. Over the course of the weekend, it's supposed to be low humidity. So we're going to really have a beautiful day for it.
Yeah, and that's I lived in Michigan for 18 years, and this is the time of year. And I at one point had a condo up there, and we would escape Texas and go back to Michigan, where my wife is from. and hang out there during July and August, and sometimes, just to get away from the heat. But
Mhm.
yeah, so you're in the right part of the country for this time of the year. Now
I
I have no desire to ever own a snowblower or a shovel again, so
It
I'm
gets
not
so
going back.
little. It's so little. We got so little snow this year. I think maybe there was 2 or 3 maybe good sled days. I don't even think we got a seriously decent sized snowman this year. So it wasn't a lot. And my husband always says, yeah, it's never a lot to you, honey, because you're not shoveling it. But he's
Yeah,
ready to go. When we retire, we'll probably head towards the North Carolina area on the ocean. So we're
yeah, that'll
looking at
be fun.
houses there now. So yeah, within the next year or two at the best, probably about a year and a half we'll be there.
That's awesome. Well, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's a good vision of balancing, as I say, your ideal day. Well, let's do this. I really want to get into your story. I'm really fascinated by your military journey with as a kid, as a child, and now obviously you did some things right there. So, and then your 7 kids and all that. So I don't know how all that plays into your story, but I want to share that with our audience. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Jessica Koch and Warrior versus Zombie. All right. So my voice is a little lower today. I've got a little bit of a cold going on here, but Jessica, so tell us your story. How did you get from wherever you started, and you can pick where you want to start, to today?
Well, let's see. I'm 49 and fabulous, so I don't want to take you on too. I don't want to snooze alert. I don't want to take you on too far of a journey, but I will say some of the highlights are as a child, I was in California. Well, I've traveled a lot in the Navy, right, with my dad. But one of the places we stayed about 4 years was Point Mugu in California, and I survived. I was there in elementary school as a small child when the Mount St. Helens went off, and I remember the ash being inches and inches thick and covering everything, covered the cars, covered everything, like snow, right? Which I had not seen while I was there. We lived in Maine before that, so I knew what snow was, but there was no snow in California. And the other things I remember from my early days are we also had some earthquakes there. There was a big dam break in California when I lived, and completely flooded Point Mugu out. I remember the men coming and carrying women and children literally across almost waist high waters to get us to the right barracks and safety and bring food. And it was a very fascinating thing, getting on the buses to be transported out of housing into higher ground and safe waters. There it was almost like something you see on a crazy sitcom. There was people carrying their bird cages and dogs and cats and babies and crying, and suitcases and bags and crying children, and packed into these giant buses trying to evacuate together. It was kind of a fascinating experience. And then, my parents actually retired here in this area, and I fell in love in high school and got married super young and to an Air Force person, and was married to him for 7 years. We went to Germany and traveled, and wasn't the right fit or blessing for me. And so I guess one of my zombies was, after 7 years of marriage, I had 3 toddlers and I was just a few weeks pregnant. And I found out that my husband was moving in with his girlfriend that I didn't know existed. And so I think one of the really proud moments I have about that time period was not allowing myself to be sucked into the sadness or depression, because I knew how powerful mindset and positive energy was. And I was growing a new life inside me despite what was happening around me, right? And you can't always control what's happening to you, but you can control how you respond. And it's one of the moments where I'm very proud of what I did. And what I did was something you would find totally insane and silly, but I took a male-based correspondence course. So you remember those back in the day where you couldn't take online courses? They actually mailed you notebooks and then you mailed in your homework and tests. And I took it and got certification in home inspection. Like totally picked something bizarre and off the mark. And the reason I did it was so I could put my head and mind into something else instead of being sucked into sadness, right? So I had goals, I achieved my assignments, I never did a thing with that. It was literally just an anchor, lifeline, safety jacket that weathered me through a storm so that I could stay positive and feel accomplished and feel good about myself despite everything, so that I could pass that positive energy on to the baby that I was growing in me, right? Because I still had to be there for that child and for the other children, right? So so that was kind of a big deal for
a very
me.
big deal. Actually, that's brilliant. There's brilliance in that, and we'll come back to, I don't want to divert too much, but I just want to say you should be proud, and you should realize that whether you realize it or not, you did something that is critical to getting through the zombies in your life, is that you can't stop thinking, or you can't make your mind stop thinking about things that are happening to you like that. So you've got to put something else in, because you know there's a fact of life, right, that a vacuum has to be filled. So you're gonna, if you try to say, okay, I'm not going to dwell on this zombie or this challenge that I'm in, that you will fall into that, because you'll go into that vacuum. But what you said and did was brilliant. I mean, because you took action, you moved forward with something that maybe it wasn't a long-term thing, right? You were filling that vacuum with something.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so that's amazing. Okay, great. Thanks. I mean, thanks for sharing. That's worth the price of admission right there.
Well,
So what else?
I think the thing I was also doing is I'm pretty self-aware, and I know things about myself. Like I believe based on my family history and what I've seen in my family history and what I've just kind of noticed about myself is I could jump off. I could definitely have an addict personality, or jump off the deep end to the extreme in something. And to protect myself from that, and my children, the people I love the most, I made a lot of rules. And so like things like I'm just one of those. I never branched out and tried any kind of drugs. I was a bit of a goody two shoes. Don't judge me. I wasn't the cool kid. I'm sorry for all of those who, I know it's a lot of legal stuff happening out there now and all that jazz. And I don't judge anybody else, but that wasn't me. I wasn't a smoker. I did test that out once or twice and thought, oh, this is the worst thing ever. I have no idea why people do this. And that was just my response to that. And as far as drinking goes, that was the one thing I made the hardest rule with. First of all, I don't ever take even a sip and get in a car and drive behind the wheel, because as a new driver, that was the biggest thing in my brain. Was I now, as a young 16-year-old girl, I realized I now had the ability to kill someone, because prior to that, it wasn't in my mind that I had the capacity to actually take another life, intentionally or unintentionally, right? And so to this day, I hold fast that rule. I don't drink in business environments or situations. And if I am the one driving, not a drop goes in, because there's just enough distractions out there and other reasons why we could get in accidents that I don't need that to be one. The other rule for me is it must be, oh, I'd like to have a drink, not, oh, I need a drink. Like, so if ever I was sad or stressed or upset, then drinking wasn't an option for myself. It was only when it was, socially, fun and enjoyable, a celebration, a nice drink with my handsome, hot, hunky husband, when everyone else is at bed and we're driving nowhere. Those are the kinds of things that I put into place to protect myself from that. I also meditate and pray and do things like self-educate and take in audiobooks and try to learn something new whenever I'm having a challenge in my life, because then I put the focus and the energy there. So I think that's been a big part of just the core of who I am from the beginning.
That's awesome. So you made it through, and you've had a lot of sales
Yes, actually,
opportunities along the way. How did that all go down? Because
that was the
you're now
first.
into more of a coaching role, and
Yeah.
so how to tell me a little bit about that journey.
So I'm a sales and marketing consultant. I do LinkedIn and social media training, and I have a virtual assistant membership program. And after going through what I mentioned very quickly afterwards, even though it wasn't my plan, the universe had a different plan for me.
Mhm.
I met my amazing husband now of 23 years, and we have 7 children between us, and have had so much joy and so much healthy self-healing from um, being in an incredibly healthy, loving relationship, which I wasn't prior.
Right.
And in that, I tried new things, adventurous things. Like I took my first job, had no real sales experience. And I took my first job as a radio sales, advertising salesperson in our local community. I uh, I thrived there. I tell you what, my drug was the next contract. There was such a high when I would go in and work with the business and think about, okay, every time I put the business owner's shoes on in my car, in my mind, before I walked through the door to talk with them and
Mhm.
said, what can we do to bring life and bring traffic and bring revenue into your business? And how can we leverage the use of the radio to do that? And started sharing ideas. And even after the time that I learned amazing things about sales there. I'm incredibly grateful for my time there. And I ingested every Tony Robbins cassette, every Brian Tracy, anybody who had something to say about sales. This was like candy for me. I could not get enough of it. If I was doing the dishes, I was listening to literally an old-fashioned Walkman and listening to sales training or motivational training to
Mhm.
get my head in the right place for the sales. But I do remember a big turning point then, because I had a money mindset block that
Mhm.
I overcame during that time. I was having lunch with one of my girlfriends, and I was stressed about, okay, the kids need this money for the football team, and the girls need this much money to be and get their cheerleading stuff done. And oh my gosh, prom is coming. We have to do senior pictures, and it was like all this money stuff, right? With 7 kids, it adds up fast, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and she's like, so make more money, she said. I'm like, I'm very I would consider myself more spiritual, but I was raised in a traditional Catholic setting. So I mean, don't hold that against me. There's some things I love about Catholic, and there's some things I could definitely leave on the wayside, but anyway, I'm much more spiritual now as I've developed as a human than I am religious per se. Not that there's anything wrong with either, just has how I've
Yeah, you don't
transformed.
have to qualify it. I
Yeah.
totally understand. It's a very personal thing,
Yes.
and
I just
I'm
don't
with.
want to offend anyone.
Yeah, but if again, if somebody's going to be offended, we're not doing it intentionally. It's
Yes.
on them. It's really on them. It's
Well,
not what
we
we're saying.
were
It's what
we
they
were
do.
actually so close that we talked about Bible verses and prayer and things. And I said to her, I don't want to disappoint God. I don't want to be all about the money. And she said, she point blank looked me in the face and said, shame on you.
Mhm.
She said, you have a gift and you have a talent and you're hiding it under a bushel. Here's
Amen.
the deal. You have you need to have access to the resources, because here's what's going to happen. There is a certain amount of money in the world, period. And it's either going to be in hands of people who are going to give it and nurture the community and nurture others and build legacies and, you know, wonderful things for the future for people, or there's going to be in the hands of people who are going to do nothing but keep it for themselves.
Mhm.
And we have a responsibility to access as many of those resources as humanly possible and multiply them to infinity so that we can be good stewards of those resources and provide them to others. That conversation shifted me. The year I was in radio advertising sales, that
Mhm.
I was struggling. We were making about 30,000 a year in salary plus commission. The very next year, I was over $100,000 in salary plus commission.
Yeah.
Same community, nothing changed. Community didn't change. The packages didn't change. The radio station coverage didn't change. It was the same little tri-county area that I was able to sell to, but my mindset moved mountains out of the way to say, oh, okay, if that's what I'm supposed to do, get the heck out of my way. I'm going for it.
Yeah, I often say that, if you really believe, and I believe, like in the sales or in entrepreneurs, small business owners, number one, don't spam people, or don't just keep jumping on people and this is what I do, this is what I got, no, you've got to do it the way you've described, which is brilliant. In that you said, I put their shoes on when I was on my way. And that's a great mindset thing. The other thing you realized, that the great friend, by the way,
Yeah.
that she helped you with, was the fact that if you really believe in the value that you provide and the opportunity that you're providing, it's a disservice
Yes.
to those people to not share it. I mean, that's kind of selfish when you think about it, right? I've got this thing that really could change your life, and I'm not going to share it with you because I'm afraid you'll tell me no. I'm afraid you'll judge me. Forget that. I mean, that's not going to serve them. And for sure, it doesn't serve you.
Yeah, and then my transition was fascinating. So usually something big has to happen to shake you to the next thing, right? And I got offered this ideal job, right? I was making a presentation for this company. They saw me present. They said, we're going to give you 80,000 salary plus commission. You're going to work in this, great office in New City. And they hired me. And then within 3 days, the person who was running the program, we didn't research properly, had a problem with substance abuse and other things. And it was right before Christmas. And again, remember, at that point we had 6 children. So right before Christmas, I left the radio station and they said, we've changed our mind. And so I was suddenly unemployed right before Christmas. My husband and I did what we do when we process often, which was we walk by the water, we hike, we go do something physical. We talked through it and figured out what are our next options. And then I was able to find my next position, which really gave me some brilliant skills. I was a leader and sales manager and trainer for a territory for a marketing company in Alexandria, Virginia, called Platinum Marketing. And we handled some of the large accounts like Quest and Verizon and Disney and business to business. And so I was interviewing and hiring and training and separating territories. And it was a lot of business to business, door to door, wear out the bottoms of your shoes kind of work. And it was fascinating and in a short amount of time learned a ton. And then from there, I went and represented an auditing firm. And at the time when I started with them, they were an industrial park on the outskirts of Baltimore. They had their big clients were the plumber a few bays down in the same industrial park, and the car dealer on the corner. That was like the big one. I was there with them less than 3 months. I saw what they were doing. It was no result, no fee. So very Robin Hood style business. Cost reduction. They looked at water, gas, electric phones, trash removal, freight, shipping, check guarantee, cost reduction. And it was contract compliance and billing errors. And you got the refund back and you didn't share any money with the company until you received that money. So it was no risk whatsoever. I thought, this is brilliant for everything. And so I took it. And within 3 months, my first 3 months on the job, we had booked and landed appointments with the CFO of Staples, the CFO of New Balance, their corporate headquarters. I landed their first government contract. We got huge power utilities. Like in the 15 to 17 years I was with them, I don't have the exact numbers. I'm 49 and fabulous, a little old, remember? I grew them huge. They opened another office location in the center of the country, and they were here in Baltimore and then moved to Texas. And brilliant company. Loved everything I learned from them. I had the country was at my fingertips. We got huge cathedrals. We were helping nonprofits. We were finding money for these little churches that $30,000 in refund for water billing error from the town because month after month, year after year, it was wrong. I mean, that paid for them to have entire new heating systems and, gave them resources. I loved this job. But over time, one of the things I really wanted was a higher level of partnership. Like I wanted part of it, right? Something I could give a legacy to my children and things. And one of the owners, but another owner, it just, the writing was on the wall. It was time. No hard feelings. Love these gentlemen who ran this company or still run this company, and feel like it's fantastic. But it was time for me to do something on my own. And actually, that point, I kind of felt like, okay, there was a little bit of sadness, I guess, about how it did end, in all truthness, not that I have any hard feelings or anything, but I really believed, because in the interview, that was kind of led to believe I was going to be able to earn my stuff into this. And that's just not how it went. And so I was a little sad after that. I ended up going to like 3 other companies, which again, I'm like I said, a little spiritual, and I was a little frustrated with the man upstairs, because I said, look, every time I went to a new position, I did a lot of research. I tried to find peace in me. I prayed about it. I meditated on it. And then I went thinking, okay, this is the right thing. And then very quickly, they either were not being honest or trying to make me be dishonest. And that's a deal breaker for me. I'm out, but I'm a long time girl. Like, usually if everything is good and you keep your word, I'm staying with you till I die. I had no desire to own my own business, because that's the scariest thought ever, right? I just wanted to go do something good for other people. And his answer to me was, well, you needed to learn those skills. And because I am the kind of go 110%, when I got to a new company, I immediately evaluated, oh, I need to learn this skill, this skill, and this skill. And I crammed like, people skills and hiring skills and interviewing skills and like all these other things that I wanted to sharpen, because I was using them in addition to sales management and sales training and all the new sales techniques. And what else can we do? And how can we integrate social media with the traditional sales skills and amplify this? And like, I was like really pushing myself. And so over the course of the year, doing 3 different places, 3 different skill sets. And finally, I threw up my hands, because people just weren't honest. They weren't keeping good to their contract. They were asking me to do things like spy on the clients. I'm just on the team members. I'm not doing that. That's unethical. And they weren't keeping their commitments or valuing their staff. And I was overseeing and managing the staff. I'm like, no, we have to give it to the staff. Otherwise, they're not going to give their 100% to you. Right. And so I couldn't be a part of that. So finally, I told my husband, I looked at him and said, I was the main income at this time too, by the way. He was full-time with our youngest. We had just had our first child together. I was the 100% breadwinner. He owns his own company, but he had asked for the first time ever to be the one to care for our newborn and to have that honor. And so it was awesome, because I worked from home and he had her, and we got a lot of time together as the 3 of us, and it was fabulous. But I turned to him and said, this is unhealthy it was physically harming my health, because I cannot be, I refuse to be that person. And I drew the line, and I said, I have to quit, because I have to resign, because I said, I have no idea where the money is going to come from, but I will market he does construction remodeling. I will market your business, and we will because he was still licensed, insured, and kept everything running in the background. And I'll get you enough work and tag team it. You're it for a while. I'm done. I'm never selling another thing. I'm never working for another person. I didn't want a business. I just was going to stay home with our daughter, homeschool her, which was what we were doing. And you're up. We've been a really great team, him and I. And he said, okay, well, I don't know if I'll be able to take over financially that quickly, but I said, do you know who you're married to? So within a few weeks, he had a 6-month waiting list because I hit the streets for my husband and market the tar out of him, so to speak, and said, okay, you're good. I'm done. I'm out. And then I don't know if I've been talking too much, but I can tell you then the birth of my business, if we have time for that.
Well, we'll take a quick break before we get into where you're at today. It sounds like, actually, I think this is a good place, because I think we're kind of at the place where you are today. And yes. So I want to take another quick break for the audio audience, and they'll hear a little more of Ricky Jean Wright. And we'll be right back, Jessica, and we'll be talking about why you're doing what you're doing today and the value you provide. And it's obvious that some of those answers, just listening to your story, are obvious, but I want to share those and give you a chance to answer those questions. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back and hear a little of Ricky Jean Wright, and we'll be right back with Jessica Koch and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, we are back, and wow, so much story there. That's the thing, and I'm older than you, so we if you asked me to tell a story and let me go, we could talk. There's
I'm
so many
sorry.
components, right? But it's been awesome. I mean, there's so many lessons there, so many warrior nuggets. I have to go back and listen to it a few times just to pick them up. But I'm really fascinated by your journey. But let's talk about why you're doing what you're doing today. So you got through all that stuff and the sales, and you didn't want a business, and you didn't,
Yeah.
and you've helped your husband get book business, and you've done this, and now you've got a business, and you obviously have some experience and unique value, and there's got to be probably some kind of vision there. So tell me about that.
So what happened was, while I was homeschooling my daughter, I literally, I think it was a solid 2 years, did not cross the threshold of our own home office, didn't open my
Mhm.
computer, didn't go on social media. I was in hiding. But I got a call from the local Chamber of Commerce executive director. And he said, Jessica, I need you to come in and teach a class on LinkedIn for our community. I'm in a rural area. There's not a lot of specialists in this, and they really needed someone to help the business owners get a grasp of this. And I love chambers. I'd been a chamber member in the past, but I wasn't a member of the chamber then. I explained to him I wasn't working for anyone. I didn't want to own a business. I didn't want to become a chamber member. And really, I was just homeschooling my daughter. And so I politely declined, and he called me back, and 7 times he called me back. And finally I said, look, people matter most. Here's the deal. I'll come, I'll teach, I'll leave, right? And I had never taught a class on LinkedIn before. I just used it successfully. And the
Mhm.
reason he had reached out to me is because he also knew I had used it to leverage working with some of the top Fortune 1000 and government entities across the country. And because I was known in the Tri-County community, it sounds like I'm bragging a little bit, but over the course of the years I was working for that auditing firm, every major employer had been my client, all the
Mhm.
universities, the hospitals, the county governments, the power companies, anybody who had a massive amount of employees and had some major cost savings to consider had worked with us. And so they all knew me. And not only that, I had also spoke at their annual conferences. Like, for example, we have an electric co-op power company here, and there was a conference for CFOs nationally for all power cooperatives that are rural electric power cooperatives
Mhm.
across the country. And I had been a speaker at their CFO conference many, many years in a row, and they never have the same person back. And I was invited back 5 times in a row. And
Wow.
the CFO and the CEO of our local company said, I've been coming to this thing for years. I know they don't invite people back. They have Jessica back. This says something about her, right? And I then again spoke at the national associations for hospitals and universities. And I was speaking all over the country for very large associations so that my local rural company was seeing me out of the town, right, on the big stage at their big events. So I was kind of a big deal. And so that's why they kept asking me. So I went and I taught that, and a firefly spark grew in me. I didn't know how much fun I would have teaching something I knew. And I also kept thinking, oh, well, everybody knows this, right? Well, I was so wrong. Then it was a small mega church in our local community, almost like a college like layout, and it was standing room only. The people packed the place, and when I was talking, it was the sound of the scratching of the pen and pencil for the notes. It's all you could hear, and it was furious. And the energy from that, the audience I was getting when I would say, "Oh, and you can do this," and there was like this, oh my gosh, you can do that,
Mhm.
energy from the audience coming back to me. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then after it was finished, there was a line of people. I mean, I must have stood there and talked to people for an hour, one at a time, waiting to talk to me at the end of the thing. People offering me positions at their company and asking me to help them. And I didn't want to work for anyone. And I said, people matter most. That's one of my quotes. And so I helped people for free for about 6 months. And then I got asked to be the featured speaker and come back again at the women's conference at the college. And my husband looked at me and said, suck it up, Buttercup. You need a website and a business card because you got a business whether you like it or not. And so I call that my Jonah and the whale story. I was very happy to be hiding in the whale and I got yanked out by my ankles. But I have to tell you, I've been having nothing but fun since then. We're approaching 5-year anniversary. We do sales and marketing consulting, LinkedIn and social media training, and about 2 years, this coming September, we started a virtual assistant membership program because I love my business. I'm passionate about it, but I love my life. So I love the chance to delegate and outsource. And I found out lots of other people wanted that too. And we had a setup to make that happen. So at this point, we have almost 50 virtual assistants from all over the world. We're about to hire another 60 in the next 3 months. We've been doing what we call a hiring blast, where every single night we do large group interviews on Zoom. So there's anywhere from 5 to 30 people interviewing, almost like networking, but interview style. And so we've been running those. We run those for the to the end of June 24th, and we'll be adding probably by 30 people by the end of that blast. And then we'll do another one because by the fall we hope to have close to 150 VAs. Our clients are almost 100 in 17 countries that we support. We just added a client out of Amsterdam, and we hope by the fall that will be double that amount of clients because we're doing our very first in the 2 years. We've never done a marketing campaign. We don't even have the virtual assistant membership program on their website. It has been a tsunami of customers coming in from speaking engagements that I do, and the referrals from other clients, and referrals from people who know us and our community and know about us. And so this will be our first time ever doing a big marketing campaign, but we've been putting in place the right management team and building departments, and we have systems and processes for everything, and perfecting that, and diversifying our skill set. So people who can do podcast editing and video editing and WordPress editing and landing page construction and newsletter, support, and just all these beautiful tasks that are completely unnecessary for the small business owner or a large corporation to be doing for themselves.
That's brilliant. Let me ask you this, because I don't even have to ask you like why. It comes across pretty strong in your discussion. There's a lot of the why, a lot of the value I can see, your sales background, a lot of this stuff. Tell me, if anything were possible, and as I always say, I believe everything is possible. What kind of impact are you hoping to have with this current endeavor with your virtual assistants and your speaking and all that? What is your, if you could kind of craft that picture of the future, what kind of impact would you want to have?
So my personal life mission intertwines with my business mission and vision. And that is, I believe everyone has, and I can never say it without crying, but I believe everyone has this powerful, beautiful gift and light to shine out on others. And I believe it's my gift and my team's gift and our company's gift to take that light and amplify it and glow it and wrap it around the world so we can help them spread it faster and farther and more than they could ever do on their own, so that their passion, their gift, and their beautiful, brilliant, shining light can touch and heal and help and support and love other people's lives so much more than they could just on their own, as a single flicker of light, right? And our tagline really mirrors that. It's grow your profits from seed to orchard, sell more, spend less, but you cannot tend an orchard with your own 2 hands. So if you close your eyes and imagine the vastness of seeing an orchard as far as your eye can see, and I like it when you imagine the trees with little pink blossoms on it, like puffs of cloud all across. If you think about trying to make sure these trees are healthy and watered and harvested so that the fruit doesn't die and go bad on the vine, on the tree, you really need a team. And I've figured out how to support people in a way that they can tend all those trees and thousands and thousands of more for acres and acres as far as you can see. that's the big thing for me. And I'd like
That's
it to be
beautiful.
a legacy, something that lives beyond me. We're
Mhm.
working right now with we just hired a CFO, and we're working with our insurance agency to do key person insurance so that the company stays in place for the legacy of my family, for the support of my clients, even if I'm taken home to heaven earlier than I decide. And so my team, I am giving their families opportunities to support themselves in these countries in ways they never were able to before. They're saving to build and buy land and build their own homes, which was not even in the equation for them before our relationship. And I'm educating them and giving them resources and training and investing and pouring into these people who are just not just my team. Many of them are much like my family, but we're very, very close. And so between my clients and my team and the family legacy I'd like to leave, I, I- I'm I know I'm right where I'm supposed to be, you know?
That's awesome. Well, all I can tell you is I'm glad that on July the 15th, we'll be getting back together with the mastermind, because I think there's a lot of value uh, in some of the things that you're talking about. And by the way, my life purpose is to change the world one dream at a time. And it's very much like you say, it's not, you can basically work with people and it can snowball and you can do amazing things if you realize life is a team sport.
Mm,
You need you can't, I love the metaphor, you can't grow an orchard on your own. You need other people. So that's beautiful. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll come back to what I call the land the plane segment, and we'll hear what you want us to take away from this podcast, if we take away anything, and then how do we stay in touch. So let's take another quick break. We'll hear another segment of It's Not the Getting There with Ricky Jean Wright, and for the audio audience, and we'll be right back with Jessica Koch and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, Jessica, as I said when we got started here, first of all, I want to say um, this came together very fast, and we didn't know each other that much, but I run my life by divine appointment. So when we connected, and it's so obvious now why God brought you into our community. So I'm grateful for that. So tell me, if we take away anything, I mean, there's so many warrior nuggets, as we call them, that you shared along the way. If we take away anything from this podcast, what would you want us to take away?
People matter most. That's one of my quotes I've been drilling into all the children since the beginning, and it's something I live my life by. And the other quote, because of the children, is now is sooner later. So do it now. I used to tell 6 and 7 children to clean their room and do their homework. And they'd say, Mom, I'll do it later. But I always say, but now is later sooner. So do it now. And I would say that to you. So many people say, there is something to be said about focus and prioritizing and things like that. And you may have this list of 5 big dreams you want to accomplish in your company. And I'm here to tell you it is possible to do them all now, and do them all now well. When you create pods of people, a project manager and 2 other support staff, and their one main goal is that one big dream that you have to do and achieve in your company, and then you get them going, and then they can run, and then you develop another pod. And so you could have 5 huge projects and big dreams being accomplished within your company if you just leverage resources that are available to you, and that is teams. And anyone can have them. Everyone thinks, oh no, I'm not a big company, I can't have that. It really doesn't take a lot.
That's brilliant. And yeah, there's so much power in what you just said. I mean, I say, the only thing you can take into eternity is people. And so people are the key. And then realizing that you can build a community around your vision.
Mhm.
All you have to do is be able to share it and be willing to bring other people in. So that's
Mhm.
amazing. Well, so I know you're on the Be Connected platform, and that's a new experience for you to some degree. And I know, so we're gonna make sure we can connect with you there. But how else do we connect with you, Jessica? How can we follow up after we've listened to this podcast?
Some other great ways to find me super easy is my website. It's just the jessicalkoch.com. So there's got to be an L or you won't find me. And then my LinkedIn profile. I have it's very filled out. Everything, probably more than should be, is on there. You could call my cell phone, you could text me, you could book a calendar link with me, you could email me, you could all the things with me. For now, not forever, but for now. So
Well, you can be curating that and triaging that and sending it to all these virtual assistants that you're putting to work, right? Yeah, I've had a lot. It's kind of fascinating because I've had a lot of my warrior guests who are lately mastermind leaders that kind of are into the VA space, or at least using VAs and that kind of thing, not necessarily building a community. So that's, for those that are listening to this podcast, mark your calendar at 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern. Jessica will be back with us. We're going to do a mastermind around that whole subject and around the things that she's doing right now. So if you want more of this, and it will be on the Be Connected platform as well. So anyway, well, that's been brilliant. It's been great, Jessica. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being part of my divine appointments and being part of this show. I love it. So for those that are listening, we'll be back next Thursday, 11 a.m. Central, with another warrior guest. And right now we're going to land the plane and hear a little more of Ricky Jean Wright and hear the final outro of It's Not the Getting There.